Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Money webinar from She Inspires Foundation and the Orange Hubs. We have three amazing women to help us with this webinar today. They've all participated in the Orange Hubs interviews, all of which have been shared on LinkedIn. Nazia, Kay, and Alison, thank you once again for giving up your time today. I wonder if you could start by just briefly introducing yourselves, just saying what you do. We don't need to talk about the journey. So Nazia, can we start with you?
Absolutely. So I'm Nazia Hack. I've been an advisor for 15 years and I love helping people make sense of their finance, budgeting, from saving taxes to protecting your business and your family. And that's pretty much me, Nazia Hack from Nazia Hack Wealth Management.
Thanks, Nazia. Kay?
Hi, Ray. Thanks for having me on. My name's Kay Price. I'm a financial planner. I run a business called KP Financial Wellbeing. I've been a financial planner for 25 years this year, and I've been running my own business for 6 years. Before that, I was employed for 19 years, and I'm really passionate about helping women on their financial journeys.
Thank you, Kay. And finally, Alison.
Oh, hi Ray. Hi everybody. I'm Alison Marsh. I own Insight Business Solutions. We're an accountancy practice. We kind of get a bit more involved and maybe a traditional accountant, and we really help and advise clients to make sure they're getting the most out of the money, make sure they're not paying too much tax. I've had my own business for 7 years, and I've been doing accountancy for 25 years. So that's me.
Thank you very much. And to everyone in the audience out there, whether you're watching on the live stream or to a recorded version, all of our speakers are professionals. So I must actually emphasize that everything that is being said today is by way of education and not advice. And this will be emphasized on the recording. So just to kick off with, we're talking about financial well-being and financial literacy. And to achieve financial literacy, it must first come knowledge, financial education. And I think this is so important, and I'm not sure there's much of it around. So I will ask our speakers to comment on whether they think this should be done in schools. Thank you, Kay.
Yeah, so we do a lot of financial education now as a business in schools locally, and I think that there should be more of an emphasis on teaching our young people more about money to get them ready for the real world, really, because there's a lot to think about when you're a young person, particularly around things like what is tax, what is national insurance, what do we use it for, what does a pay slip look like when I go to work, what's a pension. There's so much of it that's a complete and utter minefield. And I think we're in an era as well where children don't really understand about money because everything's cards, isn't it, and contactless and this, that and the other. So I think if we educate our young children about budgeting their money better from an early age, we'll get a lot more young adults being able to manage their money better going into their adult life and going into the workplace. And I think knowing and understanding more about that from an early age will allow that generation of people to then educate their children as well going forward. I think it's really important for us as professionals to educate those around us. And we do lots of education pieces. Myself and Nazia both work under the kind of same umbrella, so we both do a very similar role where we can go into local schools and educate children, but we also go into local businesses and educate the workplace as well. So we can educate people once they hit the workplace and help them understand more about money and more about what they need to do for themselves for their financial futures.
Fabulous. I'm going to just add a bit more to what Kate's actually said. Is absolutely, I think I'm going to speak from a personal journey. not having financial education when I was young has really impacted me. And now when I go out and educate others, it's amazing. People don't realize the vulnerability of not being able to manage your money, what impact it has when people are divorcing, what impact it has when a person's ill, not just because they can't manage their money. And I think I just honestly would love for it to be compulsory, but I can't do that. So I'm screaming out how important it is to genuinely have financial education, because majority of us are walking into our adult life with whatever we've learned from our parents, but our parents had no formal education on it. So we kind of carry on this system or keep passing over these habits, and some are really, really bad habits. So I often say, like I have 3 children of my own, and my 2 elderly ones that have gone to university and really good at managing their money, but I've taught them from a very young age. And they come back and they often say, Mum, people don't look at the unit price of stuff when they go to the supermarket. They just buy stuff. They don't budget. And it sounds so simple, but budgeting every month and knowing what money's coming in and what's going out seems such an obvious thing because I do it every day, but it's not obvious to everybody. And the other additional thing is people have this mindset, oh, I want this amazing promotion, and they get from 60 to 70 and they're bringing home £2,000 per year extra, but it's not what they perceive that extra promotion to look like, because a lot of it's gone on to national insurance and tax. So really knowing, like Kay said, what your wage slip looks like makes such a difference. Plus, actually, there's a lot of facts and statistics around this, but mental health, people's mental health is hugely impacted just because when money becomes an issue and they don't know what to do with it. So, I mean, I have a story which you can listen to mine. Many years ago, actually won the lottery when I was 19. So I know the impact of having money and not having money, and how getting bad advice at that time really impacted me. So, I mean, me and Kate both have loads of resources, so please reach out to us and we can provide you with the tools and resources to get yourself better at money management. And maybe you have a contact at a school and you want us to go in, but either of us will be happy to help there. I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely, Nasia.
Alison, do you have a view about financial education?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, a lot of our clients that come to us don't really have any knowledge of how to do, like you said, budgeting and things that we, obviously us 3 will probably just take, for granted that we know because we do it as a part of our jobs. And it is quite shocking, really, that people, I don't think, I don't have any children, but I don't think that people are educated in understanding, like you say, the tax, understanding your pay slip, just basic things. And it probably is quite daunting for people when they start work, and especially individuals who want to start a business, but then don't have the confidence because they don't understand. It's just a minefield for them to understand what that means and what that looks like. And especially if they're starting a business and moving from a PAYE job, that can be quite daunting in itself, because you need to know how much money you've got to make sure you've got enough money to pay your mortgage and all your basic requirements, and especially if you've got like a family as well. So I do think there is a requirement there and a gap, really, for people to help understand, like you said, about knowing how to do budgeting, making sure that you are looking at a budget and trying to stick to that, and using that as a bit of a guide. And obviously, like I say, people actually understanding what it means to start a business. And it is a minefield, but there are people like us out there that are willing to help and aid people in that transition into moving from maybe a PAYE job into something that they might really love doing, but it's holding them back because they're concerned they don't understand the tax implication.
Fabulous. Can I just add to that? You mentioned about people wanting to set up their business, and I think the key there is really cash flow modeling. Again, something that they just don't know. It sounds like a really big word, but me and Kay do have the tools to be able to give you that. And I say Kay as well because we both can provide guidance calls, which are 30 minutes of our valuable time that we're willing to give up for people that want to just be signposted to the right things. And I think there's been so many barriers in getting advice. People think that we're here just for the wealthy to make them, to help them, but we're not. We genuinely do have clients that are starting their first pensions, want to buy their first home, women that are coming out of an abusive relationship. We have a whole range of clients. So getting somebody that you can firstly check them out, obviously do your due diligence, that they're in the FCA register, and reach out to somebody or go by recommendations. Have that 30-minute guidance call. No good advisor will be wanting to sell or promote anything if you purely just want a 30-minute guidance well-being call. They will offer it. Take it. I mean, the amount of people that come out of my office and go, oh my God, Nazi, I wish I'd done it sooner. I wasted all these years. I've lost all this money. I've made this mistake. And I said, I can't change back what's happened, but we can move forward and make a positive impact. And I now also offer the same guidance calls for all my clients' children, because I think they're the next generations. And, because their parents understand the value of advice, I would love for them to have that education as well. So I think what I'm trying to say is take the fear away and don't be frightened to ask the question. There is no stupid question. You don't know what you don't know. We've just come from a background that we're three professionals that know our stuff, but we all probably, I could put our hands up, we've made our mistakes with money as well. But we've learned and we're here to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I find when I meet clients for the first time, or when people want to work with me, they'll say like, oh, you won't want me as a client, I don't have any money. And I'll say, wealth comes from creating it. It's not, you don't have to have wealth to be a client that needs financial advice. I have some clients that have come to me through recommendations of just being, a friend of mine's spoken to you and you really help them and can have a conversation. That conversation with some of those clients is literally just about a financial health check, looking where they are at the minute, telling them what's going well, what maybe isn't doing so well, going through a budget planning exercise with that client. And I'm willing to share a blank budget sheet if you want, Ray, that anyone can ask you for to use that for themselves. But ultimately, some of my clients just come to me, and one client was like, I'm so happy I spoke to you. I've now managed to stop overspending every month. I now don't spend more than I earn every month. And for me, that's a win for that client. That isn't business for me. That isn't me earning a living. That's me doing my job and helping somebody. But ultimately, off the back of that, you get more and more clients that want to work with you, want to speak to you. And I think overall financial education is lacking. And I think if we can build the knowledge and we can build access to that education through schools and through businesses and through the work that Alison does, then all we can do is make sure that we're helping the community that follow you.
Absolutely. Can I just also add to that? I mean, I find finance to be quite a taboo subject. And I often say, isn't it strange? People are willing to talk about anything, but they don't normally talk about what is working well for them. So it never gets spoken about, somebody that's got a good pension, somebody that's, made money from investments. But when it's bad news, it's amazing how quickly that seems to spread. And everybody's talking about, I'm a bit scared about pensions. I said, oh, what's made you feel so scared? Well, I heard. And it's amazing that one bad story, how long it lasts, and how they're talking about somebody that's in an unregulated fund, that's done things a particular way, which doesn't match. So firstly, when you get proper advice and it's from a regulated advisor, you are protected by the financial compensation scheme, and it's there to protect you. So you don't have them concerns to be worried about. And no, there's no obligation to walk away and take that advice either. That's another myth that people have. An advisor can give you the full advice and you can still say, actually, it's not right for me. And I think and then people have all these myths about ISAs and how ISAs are returning, but they don't actually understand that these wrappers that are provided by the government are wrappers, and what you put inside is what you get the return from, not from the actual wrapper of it being a pension or an ISA. So again, I'm going quite deep into this. There's a lot of misunderstanding and myths out there that if me and Kay could stand up anywhere, we would want to really kind of bust them out of the system if we could. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. We seem to be able to help only one client at a time. Hence why these workshops or this webinar is a really powerful tool for you to get as much information as possible and reach out to the right person for yourself.
A couple of you mentioned going into schools and going into the workplace. Honestly, when you did that and you're talking to the employees or you're talking to the students, do you get a reaction from the staff as well in terms of what you're saying? Are they sometimes saying to you, well, I actually didn't know that. Thank you. That's really useful.
What happens often is you'll go into a school and educate a year group, for example, usually year 9 or year 11. And we do it at primary school actually as well. But you'll get afterwards a teacher coming up going, can I actually have a chat with you about my finances? Can I have a word with you? You know, it really touched a nerve there. And the same in businesses. So I've done quite a lot of financial education to businesses in 2023. And you'll do workshops and we do there's like 4 different workshops that we do aimed at a different demographic, or you can do kind of a one size fits all if you don't have the time, you know, to get every demographic out of your workplace. But then you'll have the directors of the company then also coming up to you going, I could do with chatting to you actually about this, that, the other. And it's great because what that business is doing is helping their staff have better understanding of money, so they are more likely to be more productive in the workplace, less likely to be off with money worries. You know, there's a huge problem with absenteeism in the workplace due to money worries and money anxiety. So if we can get, you know, the word out about, you know, how to look after yourself better, how to look after your money better. It's all about, you know, physical, mental, emotional and financial well-being. I mean, hence my name. I'm all about the whole financial well-being piece and how it makes you feel. And I think there is a knock-on effect, like Naz said, on your mental health if you do have worries around money. And what we're trying to do is take that stress and anxiety away by delivering some really basic workshops that help you understand about pensions, help you understand what a mortgage is, helps you understand about how you should protect yourself and your loved ones, lots of different ways of looking at it. And you know, they're free, we don't charge for them. So, you know, businesses can get in touch with Nazia and they can get in touch with myself, and we can arrange to go in and speak to them. And you know, if it's a large organisation, I'm sure Nazir and I would work together and help to deliver that, if that comes off the back of this chat that we're having. But, you know, and also Alison, I mean, I'm sure, Alison, you must educate your clients. I know we've worked together, haven't we, in terms of you've asked your clients to come to me and vice versa. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? Collaboration and working together as a group of professionals to get the right outcome for the client at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Would you not think, ladies, at this stage we're at the moment, I mean, we're a panel of 3 females, which is very, very rare in a finance sector, which is actually quite a rare thing. But do you not think that just genuinely not enough of us to go out and get this message out? So we are all really quite happy to work together. We're genuinely in a position where each one of us have enough clients coming in and enough referrals. But what we want to do, I think, from the back of this is to really kind of provide the educational piece, like I said, that well-being piece. Like I've seen a recent client worked for a top brand probably for 20 years, I'm not going to name it, and he came to do a pension because Naz, I don't know where anything is. And I looked and I went into his entire 20 years and he'd opted out of his pension scheme without knowing. So an employer has a responsibility to their staff, not just to give a pension, but to educate them, because actually some of them are opting out of things which they shouldn't be opting out of, you know, and they're not understanding what the benefit is to them. And it's really sad because this guy potentially could have retired but can't retire now because he didn't make that choice, because he wasn't educated or he wasn't informed of what they were actually giving him. So I think the government has changed the regulations and there is more responsibility now on the employer to help the employees as well, to make that, you know, to make what they're offering understood better. Okay, so it's not about having a contract or offering a promotion but not explaining. You can do a salary sacrifice and that could save you X amount of money in tax plus plan for your future. So there's a lot to it, and I can't kind of say enough words how important it is that you get that you know, experience or conversation going with somebody.
I'd just like to add, you know, I would be quite happy to do something, you know, with the pair of you, because I feel the same. I think there's genuinely a lack of understanding out there, and especially with pensions. We have so many clients who don't have a pension in place, and they're running a successful business, and obviously from a tax benefit, that's something that they, it's just a really good quick win for us, to save them tax. But like you say, even people in the workplace. So we have some clients who we provide financial services to, and we're their entire finance department, and they may be employing 50, 60 people. And the amount of people, young people especially, who are in roles in them clients of ours who opt out of the workplace pension, but I don't think they actually understand what that means. And I think when you are younger, I'll put my hand up, I was the same. I think we've all said you make mistakes when you're younger. I remember working in Manchester and someone saying, oh yeah, you're joining the company pension. I was like, why would I pay into that? I can buy more shoes with the money.
Exactly. That's the problem. So I think if younger people were made aware of the bigger impact of making those decisions on their long-term financial future, they'd probably think twice about doing that. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm too young to think about pensions, I'm not going to retire for ages. But ultimately, is the sooner you start to save for your future, the better your future will look, the brighter it will look, the less expensive it will be for you. All about compounding of growth on your money. So yeah, the key piece of information to take away here is you're never too young or too old to start to get some advice about your financial situation. And even if you think you've got it sorted, even if you think, oh, I know what I've got in place, I know where everything is, there's nothing like having a second opinion or having a review of things. I mean, Naz and I have to review our clients every single year as part of our consumer duty to the client. They pay us fees. We have to review their products and their fee and everything that they do. And I do the same for non-clients, clients that come to me for the very first time. I'll just completely do a 360 view check of what they've got and say, this is what I think of your current situation. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? And do I think they're going to actually meet what you're trying to achieve? And that's when you start to work together to do that. So
I think I do the same kind of thing, but obviously from a slightly different angle. Yeah, because we're the same. When we get a new client, we kind of look at what they've done in the past, what the previous tax returns have looked like. There might be things that haven't been claimed that they're entitled to, that, some accountants kind of just, if they've not sent the phone bill, for example, then they won't put a phone bill through, but most people have a phone bill that they could put through. So we kind of look at it more in detail and say, look, these are things that we think you could have claimed, and then if need be, we'll open the previous year and get them usually a tax refund, because there is things that they could have claimed.
And I can vouch for that, can't I, Alison? Because when you became my accountant, you did exactly that for myself and my husband.
That brings a very good point there. Just to make it very clear, everybody, accountants are not financial advisors. Financial advisors use accountants, which is a myth everybody has. Are you sorting your finances? Yeah, I've got an accountant. You don't need that.
I have it all the time. I'm like, can I sort someone's mortgage out? And I'm like, no, I don't know anything about mortgages.
Yeah, and the other
someone who can. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's all about having a referral process in place, isn't it? So as a group of professionals, so I work with other business professionals, mainly females, weirdly, but that's just because Alison and I set up a business group, didn't we, in lockdown? Do you remember, Alison? So I still kind of have all those connections. So I use Alison for accountancy. So if I've got a client that wants an accountant, I'll refer them to Alison. I use a female mortgage broker for my mortgages because although I'm a qualified mortgage advisor, it takes up so much time and you need to be on the pulse with mortgages on a daily basis. So I trust somebody else who's doing that on a daily basis to do that for my clients, and so on and so forth. And I think it's all about collaborating together for the greater good of the client.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. And there's one word I often say to the younger groups is, don't think of it as a pension. It sounds old, it's horrible. I hate it. I like to bin it and call it financial freedom pot, because really that's what you've got, this pot of money for the future that you can access and build, a future with. Plus, if something happens, it can be passed over to your loved ones. And I think, when you start changing the old terminology on it, I think people start kind of going, oh yeah, I get that. I can kind of do that now. But I think there's so much in the sense of education out there that's needed to really break down their myths and for people to get more clarity on it. But another one is I get from some females is my husband deals with it. It's fine. He's dealing with it. But then when sadly the divorce or they get widowed, they're really put in they're already in a vulnerable position, but even more. So I do a lot of encouragement where I genuinely tell partners to come in together to kind of understand. I understand that he does the bulk of everything, but every woman has to understand her money. Even if she's not the main breadwinner or not, she needs to understand her money so that she can then provide them tools and resources to her children. And also, if God forbid the worst case scenario happens, she can manage her own money. And I speak from experience. I've been put in that position. I was kind of in a situation married with the main breadwinner, and it wasn't me. And I literally found that part of my journey so much harder, alongside also everything that goes with the divorce as well. So it's not a choice, I say. Make financial education compulsory part of your growth journey, and just stop saying somebody else is going to deal with it, because it's not an option.
Also, I would I mean, like I say, I don't have any children, but like at school, you get taught things, especially like, I mean, I'm not very sporty, but in gymnastics, you get taught to like climb up the walls and go on like leapfrog over things. I've never used that so far.
You've never done that since, have you, Alison? Okay.
But why isn't learning how to use, like, understanding direct debits, tax, things like that? It should really be part of education in school, because like you say, there are so many women out there who are in a very vulnerable position where they might not be necessarily the main breadwinner, and things may go wrong, and then they end up in even more of a vulnerable position. Or the husband may have said, oh, I'm taking care of it, but he hasn't actually been taking care of it. So yeah, it's like a whole other story, really, isn't it? That really, I feel like education should be there for young people.
And I think a lot of women, I mean, sadly, end up being in abusive relationships purely because from minute go, husband controls the money. They don't realize where the assets is. They don't realize where the income is, and they have got used to a particular lifestyle and they don't know how to walk away. Everybody should know what their rights are, and everybody should know, even if somebody else is the main breadwinner. As a woman, if you and your husband at the time or partner make the choice that you're going to stay at home to look after the children, you do not have to suddenly not have control on the finances, because you've played your part. And I think there's this misconception, because you didn't physically bring the money into the house, you shouldn't have that control. And I think that's where abuse begins, because then the person, if they are unhappy and they want to leave, they just can't leave now, because they don't understand the benefit system, they don't understand their rights, they don't understand about sharing orders, they don't understand what the husband's pension is. And actually that should not be hidden, and it should be equally discussed. If you're giving your time for the marriage by looking after the children, you are still doing a full-time job.
Yeah. And you said, Naz, at the beginning about people, so the statistics talk about people don't want to talk about money. So people argue more about who's going to keep the family pet when they divorce, rather than how much of your pension am I going to get when we divorce. So I always talk to clients about, try and find time every month to talk about money to your partner. And if it's hard to do that as a kind of a face-to-face over the dining room table, because it feels a little bit kind of structured, when you're walking the dog, just bring it up in conversation, talk about things, talk about your money, talk about how you're going to save for your holiday this year, or talk about, have we thought about that we need to put some money away to pay for our children's future education, or do we need to think about, I'm staying at home with the kids, I won't have a pension, will I? What are we going to do about that? Because then otherwise, I'm going to be relying on you when the kids have left home for money in retirement, and I don't want to feel that way. So there's always going to be something, and it could be reversed, couldn't it? The woman could be the main income earner and the man could be the one feeling vulnerable. But I think if you can from a very early age in your relationship, be able to talk about money. It doesn't have to be super serious. It can be just being able to talk about it, because I think lots of couples argue over money, don't they? It's quite a common thing to argue over, either somebody's overspent or somebody's not contributed or whatever that might be. So yeah, so have time. And if you're single and you don't have a partner, then have an accountability partner. Get your best friend or your mom or your sister, but somebody that you feel that you can soundboard against and talk about, particularly if you're in financial difficulty. So let's say you find that you're in a spiral of overspending, or you're in a spiral of just not being able to manage your money very well, or you're in a lot of debt. Having that conversation openly with somebody, and then somebody, you know, being accountable for it and having that person talk to you, will just make you feel more in control, and it'll feel less like a downward spiral. I personally, that's what I think anyway, that you know, that's a good piece of advice.
100%. And I think having that time allocated for these conversations, like you said, with your partner, with your children, or maybe with your accountability partner, it should be not a luxury or something you second guess, or you do when you hit a disaster. It should be something you do on a regular basis. So I often say it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. If you I was in a situation and I put my hands up before becoming an advisor, as I went through my divorce and had to go to become a main breadwinner for my family. I had to put everything on credit cards to live. Okay, it was horrible, horrific. But the point is, I then made a plan, qualified as an advisor, and then I literally carved a pathway of how to come out of it. I've now bought a house on my own, and I brought my credit rating up. And, you know, so I'm speaking not just, you know, from experience as well. When you have your finances in order, I'm telling you, it empowers you, it makes you feel safe, it gives you this pathway to make decisions, to set up your own business, like with Alison, and, you know, have that ability. But when you're living in fear, you can't make them decisions. So money is just a currency, as one would say, but it's really empowering if you can control it and have a positive relationship with it.
Okay, a couple of you mentioned earlier, in terms of financial education, you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes it's difficult to ask questions about something where you don't actually know there's an issue. And it does bother me that, one, there should be financial education starting in schools, and maybe a bit in the workplace as well. But what if you're middle-aged? Whether you have a problem or not, you may not know whether you've got a problem. Where do you go for that? And I know that there are lots of places, but it's I think it's a concern, and one or two of you have raised that. But the advice is not necessarily joined up. Everyone is not as good as you. Where you would go to the local authorities or to any government offices, it's not joined up. And advice is only worthy if it's good advice. And how do you make sure it's always good advice? And how does the person receiving that advice know that it's good advice? Because it might not be. So there is a huge job to be done. And I wonder, apart from talking about it and from people who are listening to this webinar, are there any changes that we can make to ensure that more people have financial, maybe everyone should have a financial advisor before they can do something. Maybe every business or self-employed person should employ an accountant. And one of the points you've made before, Alison, is that cost of an accountant will be easily covered by the what you can save people. So I think it's being so much more proactive in changing the way things are done in this country, and it does bother me. And that's before we get to the extra problems to do with vulnerable women, where they need extra help. Sometimes it's very specific because their abuser has actually prevented them from actually withdrawing money from a joint savings account. Can we not start to rally support for changing the rules?
Absolutely. I would like to add there, Ray, the points you've made are very clear. And personally, Gulzar's created this platform for She Inspire to get this message across. And I think the answer is we could all sit and worry and keep arguing the point, why is education not happening at schools? But there is us people like Kay, and there's not just me and Kay. Me and Kay are part of a FTSE 100 company that are offering this nationwide for every school to have this education. So there is things out there. It's just a matter of everybody doing their bit to find, people to kind of get this level of help and support. If most employers started to embark on getting an advisor in that will come and do them a workshop, you've hit a load of people there. If every accountant made sure that they had a free, basically, guidance call with their financial advisor, you've done it there. So I think we have got the ability, if we all put our heads together and start making that movement where everybody is getting it. So they're not going to ask Google, which again is questionable, but there is reputable people that are willing, like us, to make a difference and kind of get that message. So my real message today would be, if you've listened to this and you found it powerful, it's helped you in any way, and you feel it might help someone else, share the video with others and let's get the message over so we can get to people and they can get that support they need.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing, like you said, Ray, there will be middle-aged people, there will be older people that don't have access to a financial advisor, whatever that might look like. But ultimately, I would say if you're on social media, then follow some financial planners, follow some companies that are posting important articles and information out there. As a financial advisor, we are heavily regulated. We're regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. We have to be qualified to give advice. We have to keep up our continued professional development on an annual basis so that we can have our statement from the Chartered Insurance Institute. So we are really, really regulated in terms of what we can do and how we help our clients. And I think if people start to follow the odd accountant or the odd financial planner in their area and then start to read up on articles, Google their websites, read some testimonials from clients that we've worked with already, that's where you'll start to go, actually, I think I could reach out to this person and have a conversation with them. It's very clear on my website, the journey a client would take, what each meeting entails. I call my first meeting a discovery meeting with a client. So it's literally a conversation to see what the client needs, what the client wants, and how I can help them. There's also what does financial well-being mean on my website, so the 5 pillars of financial well-being and why they're important in your overall journey of financial well-being. But and a load of client testimonials. I specialize in looking after medics ordinarily. That's kind of my day job. But I also, through being part of St James's Place, I'm on the Advising Women Committee. I support businesses. So I've opened my business to lots of other types of clients. And what I found in lockdown, I did quite a lot of webinars called Advising Women. And I took on an absolute huge amount of female clients off the back of that. And because of that, I constantly get referrals from those women for other women to come to me. But ultimately my door is open to anybody that wants to have a conversation. I don't talk in jargon. I don't judge people. I talk to them in plain English and explain it. And I'm not here to kind of, judge what somebody's done in their past or what they've done or what they want in the future. It's just about having a one-to-one conversation with somebody like me who's normal, in inverted commas. I'm not the typical financial planner that people think. A lot of, we are a very heavily male-dominated industry. There's a huge gender gap in our industry. Naz is nodding. There aren't that many financial planners out there who are female. So those of us that are flying the flag for that, and we're happy to help as much as possible.
But again, I would add to that, Kay and me are obviously putting our hands up and want to reach out and help people. But if you think about it, guys, how many hours do me and Kay really genuinely have? We're working mums, and we've not got that infinite amount of hours. So if you get that opportunity, I'd grab it with both hands, because I'm telling you, firstly, I don't know what the percentage at the moment. We must be less than 10% female for starters. And female advisors are far different to a male advisor. Obviously, we're more empathetic. We have different emotional way we work. So if you get that opportunity, I would grab it. And it doesn't matter who it's with. What matters to me and Kay is that you just got some guidance, some advice, and that's what it's all about. And you should just go out, get that 30 minutes and start getting educated, because we'll give you enough tools to say, follow this person or this. And the other one I'd like to add is so many people follow influencers, okay, on money matters. But majority of these people giving these influencing kind of advice actually are not qualified. So please be careful what you follow and whose advice you're following, because there is genuine people like us, and there's people that literally haven't got two pennies to rub, but are really good on social media and are trying to sell you the next big thing. And to be honest, if it looks too good to be true, trust me, it is. What matters is first get that stability in your cash flow, start understanding money better. If you've made your £1 million and you want to go and risk it, you know what? I'm sure me and Kay will support you. What matters to you is that you first build them building blocks to getting that financial stability in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I said this to you all before, that it would be amazing if we could clone you all, and we could maybe
what
achieve.
Look like?
As beautiful as you all are today.
That's right.
But the knowledge and actually the energy with which you speak about these matters is astonishing. But that's not going to solve all the problems. And we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. I just want to talk about some statistics which actually highlight the extent of the problem. 60% of women who experience financial abuse also experience physical abuse. Women who experience economic abuse are at an increased risk of suicide. Those who also experience coercive control are at increased risk of being killed. 130,000 elder people, twice as many women as men, experience financial abuse by family members. 500,000 women in the UK are prevented from having a savings account by their partners. Another 0.8 million do have a savings account, but report that their partners stop them from accessing it. Abusive partners are prone to intercepting financial correspondence, sometimes leading to sabotage, like cancelling pension payments. 58% of abused individuals do not leave. 15% of them are trapped because they can't afford to. And 25% of women over the age of 80 experience financial abuse. I mean, these are horrific statistics.
Yeah. Shocking statistics, right? And it's awful to think that this is a world that we live in 2024, that these poor women are being subject to such awful abuse, physical, emotional, financial, domestic abuse. It's just wrong, isn't it, on every level? There are lots of support out there. There is support. There is places to go, and there are places that will help. We had obviously our conversation on my webinar about this. There's just things that women need to consider and start to look towards and plan to get their exit strategy right for coming out of that kind of relationship. I know we've put a checklist together, or I'll let Gulnaz take the glory for that, actually, because she put that together through all of the points that we made in the webinar. So we're one step further to trying to help these women out in terms of we can get them a checklist of things that they need to consider, having that bank account in their own names in secret if need be, knowing where to turn to, knowing to change their postal address if they do leave, or have a second postal address that their post can go to if it's being intercepted. It's just step by step doing those little tiny things that will help. And if you do manage to leave, changing your passwords, changing your account numbers, changing access to your banking, making sure that but I couldn't imagine what that must be like. All I can do is be here and be empathetic and supportive towards any women that need my help when that comes. And I've told you before, I'm here to help anybody that needs that kind of support. And I've recently helped a client of mine go through this very thing, and luckily it's been a journey that they're going through, and with all the kind of networking that I do locally in the community, and just all the people I've met through being a business owner in the last 6 years, we were able to support the family with food bank parcels every week from local charity Urban Outreach. We were able to get her in touch with a family law solicitor that could help with the rights of the family and what she can and can't do, and talk to the mortgage company about, all the different things. So I just went through step by step everything that I thought that client needs to: change your mobile phone number, change your Ring doorbell, make sure this, all of the things that you just take for granted every day. Your Ring doorbell, if that Ring doorbell video is on the abuser's phone, then they're seeing who's coming and going in your house, aren't they, once they've left? So get that changed, get your phone changed, get your, and not all financial abusive relationships are for people who are poorer or vulnerable. Lots and lots of women who are in ordinary relationships, ordinary marriages, wealthy relationships and marriages will still have this problem. And it's all that coercive control, isn't it? And not knowing, and a lot of it's because they've looked after the kids, so they've been at home and not been working, so relying upon their partner or their husband to provide for their home, if you like. So yeah, it's just being able to pinpoint the right places for these women when they need that help as quickly as you can.
Absolutely. So it comes back to the same point which we all started this journey and conversation. If only we could have more education at a younger age.
Yeah.
Every child, every boy, every girl would know the information so that they can see the signs. I mean, a lot more work, thankfully, since COVID we've had is mindset, where in schools they're trying to understand and they share. I mean, my child is bringing home stuff and doing stuff that my elder two never did. And I was like, wow. So I remember one of my sons going, Mom, do they get to choose how they want to learn nowadays? Like, well, yeah, he gets to lie on the floor and he can sit on the sofa, or he can do this. He went, what? They don't have to, and they can fiddle with their hands and toys. And I went, he goes, we weren't allowed that. I said, yeah, the world changed. So there is some positivity. The world is changing. The world is recognizing that change is needed. And I think consciously, if we can get more schools to get financial education, it's a source of empowerment from a younger age. Yeah. What's happening? I mean, retrospectively, we can reactively help people come out of things, but wouldn't it be a great, better world if we could just get people to understand things at a much younger age so they can make better, active choices?
Well, I think that's an amazing point to end on. Well, it's fantastic that we've done this webinar. I know it's going to be really helpful to some people, but not to enough people. And I'm determined that we must do more, that we must try to change the things that are clearly wrong, many of which you've highlighted today. We should lobby for councils to do more, although I saw a statistic yesterday that the totality of UK councils are currently £122 billion in debt. So it's difficult to get them to do anything extra. But we should also lobby government to change some of the laws to make it easier for financial education to be essential for everyone, for all employers to have a role in this financial education, and to have some kind of policy for having vulnerable women and men who may be on their staff as well. So finally, thank you again to the three of you. You are absolutely amazing people. The individuals that you get to help are very lucky. Unfortunately, there aren't enough of them that are going to actually find you, and we know that. And there's something that, as a foundation and Orange Hub's project, we will do something about. So thanks again to all of you for your contribution. It's been absolutely amazing. And to finish, we just have a few words from Coolness.
Now, I just wanted to thank all of you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your expertise. And of course, thank Ray for moderating the panel. He makes it everything so worthwhile. So you do know that Orange Hub is a project which is supported by Stanmore Insurance Brokers, and it's funded by Aviva Community Fund. We are coming to the end of this project, but in the first chat with Kay, we discussed that we probably will have quarterly meetups around financial issues. And if you guys are up for it, then I'll be in touch with all of you and we can do something so that even though the project ends, we can still continue. So thank you very much. And Alison, would you like to say something to end the whole thing? Because Kay has said, and Nazi also something, but Alison is wonderful. I mean, she's my accountant too. So, well,
yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, today, and it's been really, I found it really interesting, looking at it from the financial wealth perspective. Obviously, I know Kate really well, and I know all the hard work she does around well-being, and we try and do the same from an accounting perspective. I've just recently helped a lady through a similar situation as you have just mentioned, Kate. And it's awful to experience that, but at the same time, it's so rewarding that there are people like us out there who will help people. So yeah, I'm up to help people as much as I can, and I think we've got a great group here together, and going forward, I think we can help a lot of people. So yeah,
thank you.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone, and thank you to everyone who's watching this live stream, and to everyone who watches the recording. Enjoy the rest of the day wherever you are. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
bye.